Una di maguru mo manget na. Ano di challenge.
See. Something to Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, Chair.
How are you? Good.
I'm fine, and you, Chair?
Yeah, okay. I'm under a serious threat of connectivity problems, but at the moment, I'm still okay. Load shedding started. Should I start? I'm under a serious threat. But how's my background? Hello.
We can hear you clear.
Yes. How's my background, Rachel?
It's very good, Chair. It's very good.
Very good.
It's okay. Okay, not much. Okay. The load shedding is about to start. I don't know whether problems are also about to start. Might be. Ten minutes to go.
We are on load shedding already at Acacia Park.
Yes, we are.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. But I think Laboria seems to be worse. Laboria Park, it seems to be worse. You wake up in the morning with load shedding. You go to work, 12 o'clock, it's still load shedding. When I come back from work, it's still load shedding. I think there must be a deployment of some sort, Deputy Minister of Electricity.
Chairman, I'm at water.
Oh, no, that transfer to the deputy. Yeah.
No, you're Minister Ali one because it has got a lot of work to be done by a power and authority.
Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Dr. Eric, how do I pronounce this name? Mafumadi or Mafumari? How do I pronounce it? Dr. Eric, are you there? I only see three faces. That of the Honorable Giselle Opperman and Cheryl Phillips. And the background of Siseko, there comes the Honorable Adams, and they are all rivaled by Eric Mafumari. Oh, there comes Bakpasa. Honorable members,
Recording in
According to law.
progress.
honorable members, sorry about that. Am I audible?
Yes, you
Loud
are.
and clear. Loud and clear.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Honorable members, before we proceed, I would like to remind you that the virtual mini-plenary is deemed to be in the precinct of Parliament and constitutes a meeting of the National Assembly for debating purposes only. In addition to the rules of the visual sittings, the rules of the National Assembly, including the rules of debate, apply. Members enjoy the same powers and privileges that apply in a sitting of the National Assembly. Members should equally note that anything said in the virtual platform is deemed to have been said to the House and may be ruled upon. All members who have logged in shall be considered to be present and are requested to mute their microphones and only unmute when recognized to speak. This is because the mics are very sensitive and will pick up noise which might disturb the attention of other members. When recognized to speak, please unmute your microphone, and where connectivity permits, connect your video. Members may make use of the icons on the bar at the bottom of their screens, which has an option that allows a member to put up his or her hand to raise points of order. The Secretariat will assist in alerting the chairperson to members requesting to speak. When using the virtual system, members are urged to refrain or desist from unnecessary points of order or interjections. Lastly, I wish to remind you that we are meeting in a mini-plenary session, and therefore any decisions will be taken in a full plenary session of the Assembly. The first order of the day is the consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs on Oversight visit to Eastern Cape Province from the 3rd to the 8th of July 2022. I now request the Honorable Kasa to report.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members. On the 3rd to the 8th of July 2022, the Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs conducted a week-long oversight visit to the Eastern Cape. The oversight focus was on male customary initiation and was meant to coincide with the province's winter customary initiation season. In undertaking this oversight, the committee's primary objective was to ensure that the old age traditional practice of male customary initiation is conducted safely without any fatalities. This is in recognition of the ineffective regulation of customary initiation schools, which has led to the proliferation of illegal schools, creating opportunities for abuse and commercialization of the custom, resulting in needless deaths. Over the years, the male customary initiation practice in the province has become synonymous with deaths and mutilation of young boys. In response to this scourge, government has enacted Customary Initiation Act, which became effective on the 1st of September 2021. As the custodian of this act, the committee has a duty to conduct oversight over its implementation and hold to account all those role players who are involved. In this regard, the committee received and interrogated formal briefings from the National House of Traditional and Cohesion Leaders, the National Initiation Oversight Committee, the NK Provincial Initiation Coordinating Committee, as well as districts and local initiation forums. This was to ascertain the extent to which these structures fulfilled their responsibilities as expected in terms of the Act. In addition, various initiation school sites were visited in Port St. John's, Mhlonhlo, Nyandeni, King Sabata, Dalindyebo, and Buffalo City. The sites visited afforded the committee practical insight into the measures that had been put in place to safeguard the lives of the initiates in terms of the Act. Among the key findings emanating from the oversight visit was that the Eastern Cape Customary Male Initiation Practice Act of 2016 did not adequately conform to the National Customary Initiation Act prescripts. Amendments of the provincial legislation, therefore, is imperative. Also repeatedly raised as hindrance to the effective implementation of the national legislation was the unavailability of sufficient budget. It was therefore expected from the committee that it would raise it with the relevant authorities. The Act was also found to not have permeated through the relevant population segments and thus remained largely unknown. What was therefore expected is that there must be public education on the Act itself. The committee also found that the inclusion of MECs in the Provincial Initiation Coordinating Committee was making the committee not to function well because of competing responsibilities of MECs. It was therefore expected that the composition of the PICC of the Eastern Cape should also be reviewed. Amongst the various recommendations suggested to assist the effective implementation of the Customary Initiation Act was the introduction of dedicated special civil courts to deal with cases that emanate from the death of initiates. In 22 November, the Portfolio Committee convened a meeting with the relevant stakeholders as a follow-up to our visit. And again here, everybody committed to follow up on the issues raised by the committee. While the committee's oversight visit yielded some gains, critical challenges remained. The most concerning was continued proliferation of illegal initiation schools, which in some instances even surpassed the number of legal schools. Most fatalities and injuries occur in these illegal schools. It therefore remains of utmost importance that the committee should intensify its oversight work on customary initiation to counter the challenge. Against this background, it is recommended that the House should adopt this report. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Papasa. Thank you very much. The second speaker on the platform is the Honorable E.R.J. Spies. The Honorable Spies.
Chairperson, mine is on the Makana oversight visit, not on the initiation. It's Honorable Opperman.
The list that I have here shows the Honorable Spies. Is it the Honorable Opperman?
Yes.
Or am I having a wrong? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, yes. The Honorable Opperman. My mistake. The Honorable Opperman, you're welcome.
Thank you. Customary rite of passage are an integral part of African tradition that are irreplaceable. Therefore, the safety, health, and welfare of initiates are of the utmost importance. The National Initiation Oversight Committee was established on the 10th of November 2022 to monitor the implementation of the Customary Initiation Act of 2021 and to promote compliance with its provisions. Yet, despite the legislation, there is still general non-compliance with the CIA. Underage initiates are still being admitted. Amputations, non-screening, and kidnappings still prevail, and illegal schools now surpasses registered legitimate schools. And little has been accomplished of the recommendations made by the Portfolio Committee to date. The Democratic Alliance therefore proposes that minimum requirements for the registration of traditional surgeons be enforced to ensure that rituals are performed by certified traditional surgeons, and certificates of fitness must be issued by registered medical practitioners, because more than 700 fatalities occurred in the past decade, mostly at unregistered schools. Last year, more than 200 initiates suffered injuries at illegal schools. Monitoring and oversight of procedures and facilities must be strengthened by revisiting the composition and reconstitution of PICCs to ensure that they have relevant people to attend to initiation matters. Our country are plagued by illegal and unregistered initiation schools that are mushrooming and surpassing legitimate schools where underage initiates are being admitted. Ukwaluko must not be a means for monetary gain and greed used by opportunistic people. The DA proposed that provincial initiation coordination committees be capacitated to enforce Section 15(6)(b) of the CIA to investigate and close down illegal structures within 1 day of becoming aware of it. Illegal schools needs to be decisively dealt with in order to combat the scourge of fatalities during initiation season. Local initiation fora and district municipalities must work together to close illegal schools, and a dedicated budget at a municipal level are needed to coordinate the initiation program. There is a need for initiation units in affected departments, and intergovernmental coordination must be ensured across departments assigned to provide assistance to the program. Provincial legislation that are in conflict with the CIA must be aligned to ensure harmony between the two pieces of legislation. And local traditional houses, who remains grossly under-resourced, needs to be capacitated with tools of trade and staff to improve their involvement in the initiation program. To keep the tradition of Ukwaluko alive, we need, in the words of the CRL, more than just legislation, but a partnership between communities, government, and traditional leadership to enforce the requirements for registration. That was out of a CRL report of 20 years ago. Yet we are still lamenting the same issues today, meaning very little progress has been made to make the traditional right of passage safe. But the Democratic Alliance, we also support the recommendations made by the Portfolio Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Members, I think something is not going well here. The first order is the consideration of a report on a visit to the Eastern Cape province, which was, of course, supposed to have been reported first by the Honorable Kasa, followed by the Honorable Spies. Now, if the Honorable Kasa reported on the Makana report, which is actually the second order, then we will continue with the second order. And then after the second order, we'll go back to the to the first order, which is the Eastern Cape. I hope that would settle the problem that we have. The next speaker is from the EFF. But I don't have a member here. Any person from the EFF? Any person from the EFF? Okay, I pass. The Honorable Princess S.A. Buthelezi from the IFP.
Thank you, Chairperson. We are all aware of the ongoing debate regarding initiation practices and that there are groups of people that call for the abolishment of these practices. However, I am reminded of the words of the great musician and songwriter Bob Marley, and I quote, "In this great future, we cannot forget our past. The Indigenous Knowledge Systems, the COI, and Traditional Leaders Act, and the South African Heritage Resources Act stand as confirmation that the protection of the identity of our people is paramount. Initiation schools stand as the custodians of customary educational institutions that have for generations helped to shape young minds to create healthy communities. It is in these institutions that young boys and girls attain the knowledge needed to make the transition from youth into adulthood. It is here where they are isolated from the influences of the modern world to draw from the wealth of knowledge in the institutions of the elderly, and they are given the tools to become effective contributors to the moral fiber of their communities. In January of this year, it was reported that at least 20 initiates had died in the Eastern Cape since the start of the summer initiation season. The causes of death that were cited included dehydration, underlying health comorbidities, and diabetes. This is simply unacceptable because as a country, we have the ability to ensure that the necessary precaution is in place. The issue of initiations that have gone wrong should not be isolated to the Department of Traditional Affairs. Rather, it should be regarded as an opportunity for greater collaboration between the governmental departments. As indicated in the report, there is a need for the Department of Health and the Department of Human Settlements to play their part. It is within this in mind that the IFP wants to emphasize the sentiments raised in the report related to harmonizing the provincial legislation regulating customary initiation with the Customary Initiation Act. There is no use in having an act that aims to provide for the effective regulation of customary initiation practices when it is not adequately implemented in our provinces. The IFP accepts the report. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The next speaker is from the UDM. Any person from the UDM? A pass. A person from the ATM? An honorable member from the ATM? No one from the ATM? Yazula? An honorable member from Good? An honorable member from Good? PAC? I pass. The Honorable Msimango from the ANC.
Sihlala sodwa, sihlala. Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair.
Chair. Yes, Honorable Member, can I help?
It's Honorable Mpumza, not Honorable Msimang.
Is it? Yeah. No, Honorable Pumza, you will report on the Eastern Cape province. This is now the second order instead of the first one. So we're still going to the first one where you're going to be the last person to report. So for the moment, on the second order, you have the Honorable Sima.
Thanks, Chair.
Yabonga.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair, honorable members of the House, fellow South Africans. The Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs during its current term of office in Parliament of 2019 to 2024 has adopted a resolution to intensify its oversight efforts over all relevant state organs within its mandate. This resolution aligns with the objectives outlined in Parliament's 2019-2024 strategic plan. The ANC views it as its crucial aspect aimed at the declining state of local governance. With this understanding, the ANC extends its full support and active participation in the oversight visit to the Makana local municipality, situated within the Sarapatman district from the 16th to the 19th September 2022. The ANC and the committee are resolute in restoring Makana municipality to its former status as one of the well-run municipalities. The objective is to transform it into a robust municipality, better equipped to cater to the needs of the Makana community. Several challenges have been identified in the course of this oversight visit, including the deterioration of critical financial health indicators within the municipality, excessive reliance on external service providers, and concerns related to water and sanitation services. Despite the existence of various catalytic projects in the progress in Makana, the aging municipal infrastructure possesses a significant impediment to economic growth. The municipality's most pressing issue pertains to water and sanitation, with the infrastructure having exceeded its intended lifespan and necessitating substantial upgrades. To address these challenges, Honorable House Chair, Makana requires a collaborative support from all relative stakeholders to uphold the principles of the Back to Basics and the Financial Recovery Plan. Some key recommendations worth embarking on are as follows. Mandating the Makana local municipality to furnish the Portfolio Committee with a copy of its Financial Recovery Plan, with a detailed breakdown of funding allocated for the upgrade of the Bemol Valley wastewater treatment plant and the James Killen's water treatment plant. Recognizing the pivotal role of the National Treasury in oversight visits to municipalities under interventions, as per the section 1395A of the Constitution, the National Treasury's involvement is crucial.
Honorable Member Msimanga.
Yes.
Your time is up, sir.
The ANC supports this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable members, we shall now proceed to the second order After that debate has been concluded, we will now proceed to the second order, which is actually now was supposed to be the first one. That is the consideration of the report of Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs on Oversight visit to the Eastern Cape province. I now invite the Honorable F.D. Kasa again. The Honorable Kasa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members. I had confusion. This was the second report that I was supposed to report on. From the 16th to the 19th of July 2022, our Portfolio Committee conducted an oversight visit to Makana local municipality in the Eastern Cape.
Honorable Kasa.
Following up on a number of...
Honorable Kasa.
Can you hear me, Chairperson?
I can hear you. I'm trying to correct
Honorable.
something here. The first report that you reported on was to Makana from the 16th to the 19th. You did that. That was supposed to have been the second order, but unfortunately, you reported on that one, so we made it the first order. Now, we are now reporting on the first order, what was supposed to be the first order. You know, that is the report from the Eastern Cape to the Eastern Cape visit, oversight visit, on the 3rd to the 8th of July. So I'm just making you aware that you should not repeat the order that you did before.
I think there's some miscommunication. I actually reported on the oversight visit to the Eastern Cape from the 3rd to the, I think it was 5 days. So I think let's allow Chairperson to proceed now with Makana. I think where we twisted, it could have been Honorable Mbumza to conclude the debate on initiation and Honorable Msimang to conclude the debate on Makana. So that's where the confusion is. Can I proceed with the Makana report? And I'm sure you'd find a way to manage it. Can I proceed, Chairperson?
I need to understand. Then what happened to the report of the Eastern Cape?
It was on initiation, customary initiation.
Have you reported on that?
Yes, I did. And instead of Honorable Mbumza concluding, then Honorable Msimang was called, who was supposed to conclude on this one that I must present. That's where Honorable Space is supposed to come in.
So I want to call the Honorable Space then to continue.
Instead of...
Yeah, because you have already presented it, Baptaz, if I understand. You have already...
You don't understand. I did not present on Makana.
You presented on the Eastern Cape.
On the initiation, yes.
That is the Eastern Cape.
Yes. That's where Honorable Opperman and Honorable Buthelezi came in. But instead of allowing Honorable Mbumza, then you allowed Honorable Honorable Simang. So who are supposed to close this debate I'm introducing?
Okay, go ahead, Dr. and finish your report. Then we will follow the list of space, and then with Pumza being the last person.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
sir.
very much, Honorable Chairperson. I'm saying on the 16th to the 19th of July, the Portfolio Committee visited Makana, and specifically, this was a follow-up session on many engagements we have had with Makana. Makana is amongst approximately 64 so-called dysfunctional municipalities according to the records of DCOC. And the same municipality has been subjected to a number of interventions in terms of Section 139, subsection 5 of the Constitution, as well as Section 139 of the Municipal Finance Management Act. Makana is also amongst municipalities that have been receiving disclaimed audit opinions for 3 consecutive financial years. The municipality is also featuring in the list of municipalities that have been issued with material irregularities relating to substantial harm to citizens due to their inability to deliver on their services. The committee has prioritized these municipalities for intervention, and the oversight visit to Makana was part of that endeavor. Oversight programs consisted in receiving and interrogating formal briefings from all the structures responsible for supporting the municipality, including Auditor-General of national and provincial cocktail. Most importantly, the committee also convened a separate session with various community groupings from around Makana municipality. This engagement established there was between communities. This led a collaboration between the municipal seeing citizens wanting to participate actively in the affairs of the municipality. The committee further conducted site visits to assess the state of the municipality's water and road infrastructure projects. Among these critical projects was the upgrading of supply for James Klein treatment works, which has been in process since 2016. As the whole of Makana relies on this facility water needs, the upgrade is key to alleviating the long-standing water crisis in the municipality. The committee found that there were long delays in escalation of project costs, a matter that has from the Special Investigating Unit. It is questions as it was implementing the project in partnership with the National Department of Water and Sanitation and the Amatola Water Board. To bring all these relevant role players into account, the committee, as part of its oversight report recommendations, a follow-up meeting in November 2022 with the deputy ministers responsible for water and sanitation, the Amatola Water Board Authority, and the political principals of Makana. A commitment was made to fast-track all the relevant processes to ensure that the municipality has adequate water supply by the end of June 2023. Practically, this would involve sourcing additional funding to address the project cost overruns and fast-tracking the supply chain management processes. The committee welcomed this commitment. Makana political leadership also affirmed its interest to change the situation in the municipality and deliver on its promise to the community. This was also noted and appreciated. As urged by the citizens of Makana, the committee is resolved to monitor these commitments. This will underpin oversight committee.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
And I recommend the adoption.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The next speaker, I hope I'm correct. It's the Honorable Speaker.
You are correct, Chairperson. I apologize in advance for my voice because I have flu, so I'm going to try my best. And I am speaking on the oversight visit of the 16th to the 19th of September 2022 in the Eastern Cape. I just want to be clear on that one. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, today I rise to address a matter of great urgency and concern, one that affects the lives of countless South Africans who are suffering the consequences of inefficient and inadequate water service delivery. We have witnessed a situation in Makana that exemplifies the failures of government intervention, the absence of effective provincial involvement, and the painfully slow pace of action. In Makana, the promise of an upgraded James Kleinhans water treatment works by June the 30th, 2023, was nothing more than an empty pledge. As of September 7th, 2023, that promise remains unfulfilled. What has been achieved, albeit partially, is the consistent delivery of 18 megaliters of waters per day, allowing for daily water supply to residents in most areas, with nighttime pauses for reservoir refilling. This progress has been achieved with only 2 pumps operating at the James Kleinhans water treatment works and Hobison Spoor. The precarious nature of the situation is evident. A breakdown in any of these 3 pumps would plunge the town back into a day-on, day-off water supply scenario. While the contractor at the James Kleinhans water treatment work seems to be making some progress, unforeseen issues like waterproofing complications have plagued the project. Completion of all filters is still pending, and achieving the promised 20 megaliters per day depends on the installation of 2 missing pumps, which I must emphasize is not the contractor's responsibility. Furthermore, the true water requirement remains uncertain due to an abundance of leaks in the reticulation system. This lack of oversight reflects poorly on the management, which should be diligently tracking water usage and losses, especially when it comes to delivering water to those who cannot afford it. Beyond Makanda, the situation in Ellisdale, part of the Makana municipality, is equally distressing, with residents that is experiencing days without water. Promises were made, but the visit and assessment by Adamatola Water have yet to be materialized, leaving the community in a state of despair. In August this year, the National Minister of Water and Sanitation acknowledged the dire situation in Makanda and committed to addressing the key issues. His visit was an opportunity to demonstrate decisive action, yet it was marred by delays and a lack of substantive information. What is clear from this ordeal is a pattern of government ineffectiveness that extends beyond Makanda. The government has consistently shown a lack of capacity to implement essential service delivery. It is not enough to make promises. We need results. We need efficient management, transparent reporting, and accountability from those entrusted with the well-being of our communities. In conclusion, Chairperson, I would like to implore to this House to take a serious look at the failures in Makana as a microcosm of the larger issues plaguing our nation's service delivery. We must demand better, more efficient governance and hold those in power accountable for their actions or lack thereof. It is time
Thank
for
you.
change, not in Makana,
Thank
but
you very
across
much,
South Africa.
Honorable Member.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're inviting the next speaker from the EFF. The next speaker is from the EFF. I pass. We now invite the Honorable Princess Buthelezi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Aging municipal infrastructure seriously constrains effective service delivery and economic growth, especially at a local level. Unfortunately, the critical challenge that Makana municipality is facing relates to water and sanitation, which we have all come to learn is a challenge many of our local municipalities are battling with. Often this is due to the fact that often this is due to the fact that the municipal water and sanitation infrastructure has exceeded its design lifespan and needs upgrading. The upgrading of these infrastructures is something that can be predetermined. However, the problem is often left to escalate until the water in local communities runs dry. Only then do these projects then get upgraded. It has been disheartening to see the ongoing water woes at Makana local municipalities, especially the municipalities, since the municipality has a community of residents that is actively participating in matters relating to municipal affairs. However, their pleas are overlooked. This oversight was conducted in September of 2022, nearly a year ago. However, in May of this year, members of the Makana community were protesting against the Makana municipality over unreliable water supply. Water is not a luxury, but a basic need and necessity. Communities should not be forced to protest so that their basic need can be met. The ever-increasing escalation of the water crisis in this municipality, even after the recommendations made by the committee, seems to indicate that the municipality is blatantly turning a blind eye to issues raised by members of the community, such as the unequal and uneven supply of water in different areas and the lack of response to water leaks. The IFE is in full agreement with the report. It is simply not enough for the province to impose a financial recovery plan and leave it at that. Each day, this plan is not adequately implemented. A community member quite literally goes without efficient service delivery. The financial recovery plan was imposed in 2021, yet during the oversight in 2022, it came to light that there were no financial disciplinary board in place that could provide evidence that Makana is implementing its financial recovery plan. As incredible as this seems, it is more often than not the reality in many municipalities. There needs to be a culture of actioning the recovery plans that are put on paper, as currently it seems as if they are only in place to act as bureaucratic scapegoats. The IFP accepts the report. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The next speakers from the UDM. ATM. Wood. PAC. Now I need to be assisted, Honorable Chair Asa, because of the Pambanawama Commissioner, who now should conclude the debate between the Honorable Pumza and the Honorable Msima.
It's Honorable Msima.
Okay.
who actually earlier spoke when you were speaking about that one. But you can call him,
Okay.
find
Okay.
out to summarize.
Chair,
Honorable Msimanga, are you ready?
Chairperson.
Hello. Honorable
No,
Msimanga.
Chairperson, can I just get a clarity? It's honorable space.
Yes, Honorable Chair.
So are we going to now have a repeat of Honorable Nsimango's in speech or declaration that he did earlier? Because he spoke already on this matter. Honorable Mpumza has not spoken, but we are past that order now already. So we are going to listen to him again. I'm
That is
just
why
wanting
I
to
wanted
know.
direction from the chairperson of the committee. And he has requested that it's the Honorable Msimanga who should conclude the debate. And I hope the relevant officers will have to try and put this in the right perspective for record purposes. But Chairperson has advised that we allow the Honorable Msimanga to either repeat or conclude the debate. Is Honorable Msimanga ready?
Yes, yes, Chair, I'm ready.
Yes, please. You're welcome. You can go ahead, Honorable Msimanga.
Thank you very much. Portfolio Committee. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Am I audible enough, Chair?
Yes, you are.
The Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, during its current term of office in Parliament of 2019 and 2024, has adopted a resolution to intensify its oversight efforts over all relevant state organs within its mandate. This resolution aligns with the objectives outlined in Parliament's 2019-2024 strategic plan. The ANC views it as a crucial aspect aimed at the declining state of local governance. With this understanding, the ANC extended its full support and active participation in the oversight visit to the Makana local municipality, situated within the Sarapatman district from the 16th to the 19th September 2024. The ANC and the committee are resolute in restoring Makana municipality to its former status as one of the well-run municipalities. The objective is to transform it into a robust municipality better equipped to cater to the needs of the Makana local municipality. Several challenges have been identified in the course of this oversight visit, including the deterioration of critical financial health indicators within the municipality, excessive reliance on external service providers, and concerns related to water and sanitation services. Despite the existence of various catalytic projects in progress in Makana, the aging infrastructure possesses a significant impediment to economic growth. The municipality's most pressing issue pertains to water and sanitation, with the infrastructure having exceeded its extended lifespan and necessitating substantial upgrades. To address these challenges effectively, Makana requires collaborative support from all relevant stakeholders to uphold the principles of the Back to Basics and the Financial Recovery Plan. Some of key recommendations worth embarking on is one, mandating the Makana local municipality to furnish the Portfolio Committee with a copy of its Financial Recovery Plan. with a detailed breakdown of funding allocated for the upgrade of the Beaumont Valley water waste treatment plant and the James Kellens water treatment plant, recognizing the pivotal role of the National Treasury in oversight visit to municipalities under interventions as per section 1395A of the Constitution. The National Treasury's involvement is crucial in formulating mandatory recovery plan recovery plans. Additionally, a call is made for the invocation of law and order mechanisms to combat corruption and mismanagement. We express our gratitude to the stakeholders who participated in helping us gain a comprehensive understanding of the challenges faced by the municipality. Most importantly, we acknowledge their commitment to seeking solutions. The ANC lends its unwavering support to the report and its accompanying observation and recommendations. The ANC support the report. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. That concludes the debate, Honourable Members. We shall now
The volume is off, Chair.
Yes, we can't hear him.
Chair, the volume is off.
We are now on the third order. Am I audible, honourable members?
We lost you for a few minutes.
Yes, you are, Chair.
Okay, we now invite the Honourable Daba to the podium for the third order on the consideration of the committee report on women, youth, and persons with disabilities. The Honourable Daba.
Thank you very much, Chair and honourable members. Good morning. Chair, the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities was briefed by the Commission for Gender Equality on the 23rd February 2022 regarding its report on government's emergency response action plan on gender-based violence and femicide. This report was referred to the committee on the 15th April 2021. Section 187, Chair, I will say honourable members and the community can read upon themselves what the Constitution says in terms of CGE and go straight to its obligation in line with the Commission obligation to strengthen constitutional democracy with a focus on the attainment of gender equality. The Commission has a legislative mandate and functions. I will then jump the functions. I will say table as read. Honourable members and the community can read on themselves and then go straight to the report. It is on this basis that the IRAP report was produced and tabled in Parliament for consideration. And as such, the Commission undertook a post hoc review and assessment on the performance of the state entities that were expected to give effect to IRAP over a period of 6 months. What did the key findings reveal, Chairperson? Of the 80 targets outlined, 21.25% were achieved, whilst 12% were partially achieved, and 63% targets were not achieved. The Commission indicated that the IRAP was a timely and appropriate response to an urgent national crisis, but its implementation faced many obstacles on the ground. It also concluded that there were, firstly, problems of lack of effective coordination, secondly, ineffective oversight and accountability, and thirdly, a lack of ongoing program on monitoring and evaluation mechanisms, which led to many targets and interventions not achieved. Furthermore, CGE indicated that the interim steering committee's coordinating role was crucial, but it was undermined by significant operational issues, including lack of role clarification, poor accountability, and limited capacity. A large number of departments involved in the implementation of IRAP interventions were without effective operational coordination and collaboration across thematic areas. The Commission outlined a wide array of recommendations that pertained to the structure and process, monitoring and evaluation, sourcing, specifically gender-based budgeting, as well as coordination and collaboration. The committee welcomed the report by CGE and acknowledged the importance of monitoring and evaluation policies to address gender-based violence and femicide in the country. Furthermore, the committee committed to a joint meeting with relevant portfolio committees, which we have done, in order to engage with relevant departments and assess what the progress has been made insofar as the implementation of the NSP on GBV is concerned. Moreover, the portfolio committee takes cognizance of the findings and recommendations as an important background and context to the development of the National Council on Gender-Based Violence Bill, currently before the committee. The portfolio committee chairperson, having considered the Commission for Gender Equality report on government's emergency response action plan on gender-based violence and femicide, hereby recommends that the House adopts the said report. I thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. And there's a member whose gadget is giving us problems. Honourable members, please take care of your gadget. The next speaker is the Honourable Sharif.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. The report by the Commission for Gender Equality on the Emergency Response Action Plan is damning against this government. The President pledged that a 1.6 billion rand budget would be made available to implement the IRAP over a 6-month period with 5 thematic areas, 39 interventions, and a whopping 80 targets. Out of 80 targets, only 21% were met, 15% partially met, and 64% of targets were not met. The Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, the custodian of the IRAP, met 0% of their targets. The truth of the matter is that the IRAP was more of a wish list than an actual plan to change the lives of women and those vulnerable to GBVF. The worst part is that this government was giving women the impression that it has a plan that was going to work. Instead, it tried to put a band-aid on a gushing wound. The IRAP was doomed for failure. When it first came to Parliament, the DA highlighted the shortcomings and warned that rushing a plan to make it seem as if government was on top of the fight against GBVF, when obviously they were not, is disingenuous. When there is a lack of planning, it becomes difficult to 1, cost the project properly, 2, have frameworks in place to manage the project, and 3, implement any of the proposed interventions and targets. The DA raised our concerns, and the first red flag we flew was the short time frame given to reach the large amounts of targets that needed to be coordinated across different departments. A lot of the targets and interventions were long-term goals, and trying to race and squeeze them into short-term goals was not going to work, especially if it was not properly planned and thought out. The second red flag was the lack of monitoring and evaluation of the IRAP. Without an effective tool to monitor the work being done, evaluate the outcomes or lack thereof, there was no way for government to efficiently do any sort of oversight hold the interim steering committee on GBVF and the implementing departments accountable. There was no coordination and essentially limiting the amount of any real collaboration. The third red flag was the contradiction around the budget. As mentioned, the president pledged 1.6 billion rand, but Treasury only made 1.4 billion rand available in the adjustment budget. This money was not a ring-fenced amount that was for the sole purpose of implementing the ERAP, but was reprioritized in the various departments' budgets. This made it impossible to hold departments accountable for not using the reprioritized budgets to implement the ERAP. The CGE report states that it is unclear how the funding of the ERAP was raised and dispersed, as they got conflicting statements from key role players on the ground. The CGE report is a scathing indictment on the inability and incompetence of government in formulating and planning the ERAP. The complete failure in implementation, coordination, and collaboration is a well-known trait of this government. The ERAP is the new blueprint of what not to do in good governance. It's a 101 guide of what an incapable state does when faced with a national pandemic. The government failed and it must take accountability for its failure. The Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities should hang their heads in shame for not reaching any of their targets, 0% of targets met. This is unacceptable and should never happen again. The DA supports the report of the Portfolio Committee. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. The Honourable Member from the EFF, the next speaker. I pass. The Honourable Fengwa from the IFP, MD.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. We often speak of navigating our lives in a post-pandemic world. However, for women, children, and persons with disability in South Africa, this is a really pandemic of gender-based and femicide. Is not yet ended. The fight against gender-based violence and femicide once again took a heavy blow when we received the crime stats for 2023. For 2023, in April and June, and 23 in June, then it is the same more than the period previous year. It is incredible, disheartening to see that protecting the lives of our women and children is still not regarded as a pressing matter, even with all the well-written and perfectly outlined plans, framework, and strategies the government presented. With rape and murder stats are going high and high. Siyanxusake siwu-IFP sishaya ikhwela sithi sekwanele ukufa kwabantu besifazane ney'ngane, lanele igazi elikhishwa abantu besifazane ngenkathi beteta bezala iy'ngane. Njengamanje kwanele sishaya ikhwela sihlaba umkhosi sithi maluju. The IFP support the report.
Thank you very much, Honourable Fengwa. A member from the UDM. The Honourable Member from ATM. The Honourable Member from Good. The member from the NFP, the Honourable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. The National Freedom Party will support the report tabled here today. However, I would like to raise my concerns. It is our understanding that the focus of attention on dealing with the scourge of gender-based violence needs to change from one of budget and more importantly to the root causes of why we have high levels of gender-based violence in the country. We have raised this again and again. Until you deal with the dysfunctional state of our society, the socio-economic conditions under which we live, the high levels of substance, drug and alcohol abuse, teenage pregnancy, and we saw last year what happened, which I want to repeat, 91,000 children having given birth to children. The poor quality of education, basic education, which is not attracting learners to school, which is resulting in almost 1 out of 2 children who start school in grade R that do not finish school, grade 12. And more importantly, those who do continue drop out in the first year of TVET colleges. Now, this, in my understanding, and the understanding of the NFP, is the root causes. Let us admit, Honorable Chair, that no man is born a rapist or a murderer. And every man or rapist or a murderer is the child of some woman. I notice, particularly in the media, there's a lot of bashing of men. And I think we must correct this. There are lots of good men, good fathers in society today. But women should equally take responsibility for what is going on. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the stats last year of 91,000 children giving birth to children, and yet, Chairperson, we've never heard of any consequences for any of those that may have made these children pregnant. Nothing, not one single instance yet. So what we are asking is can we focus on the problem and try and find solutions? Another thing that we're not attending to is the economic dependence women have on men, which results in women having to remain in this very difficult environment or in this relationship as a result of their dependence. And how are we going to deal with that? The issue of maintenance. These are just some of the things. I don't want to dwell on this other than I think the space, the time that was given to achieve these targets, it's clear was not enough. But I think we need to look at this more comprehensively with a holistic approach as to how we can get people to understand that we respect each other, irrespective of their gender. And men must take responsibility. Children, perhaps, Chairperson, we need to bring in legislation that it's compulsory for every father to be in the life of his child, at least until that child is matured. Thank you very much, Chairperson. We will support.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. PAC. Honorable Member from the PAC. Honorable CM Piri from the ANC, please close the debate. Honorable Piri.
Honorable Chair.
Oh, Honorable Chairperson, it's Honorable Masiko.
Oh, okay.
You're welcome, Honorable Masiko.
I request to take it on behalf of Honorable Piri. She is experiencing some network problems.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable House Chair, Honorable members of the House and the platform, the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities received a briefing from the Commission for Gender Equality on Government's Response Action Plan for Gender-Based Violence on the 23rd of February 2022. The CGE's work is founded on Section 181 of the Constitution, and it operates as one of Chapter 9 institutions, independent bodies designed to strengthen democracy. Consequently, the CGE is obligated to provide an annual report to the National Assembly outlining its progress in achieving its strategic objectives. Section 187 of the Constitution mandates the Commission to promote respect for gender equality, protect and nurture its attainment, and oversee, educate, lobby, advise, and report on gender equality-related matters. The CGE presented its findings from a study assessing the progress in implementing ERAP interventions and targets, stating that out of 80 outlined ERAP targets, 17 were successfully achieved, 12 were partially accomplished, and 51 were not met. The CGE noted that while IRAP was a timely response to an urgent national crisis, its implementation faced significant on-the-ground obstacles. These issues included a lack of effective coordination, inadequate oversight and accountability, and a deficiency in ongoing program monitoring and evaluation mechanisms, leading to the non-achievement of many targets and interventions. Additionally, the CGE highlighted the crucial role of the Interim Steering Committee in coordinating IRAP, but identified operational issues that hindered its effectiveness. These issues encompassed role ambiguity, poor accountability, and limited capacity. Many departments involved in IRAP implementation lacked effective operational coordination and collaboration across thematic areas. The committee expressed concerns about the insufficient time allocation for IRAP implementation, which had an impact on the outcomes. Consequently, it extended its support to the CGE to ensure that recommendations are implemented. CGE further recommended that priority, along with the necessary resources, be given to establishing the National Multi-Sector Stakeholder Body on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. It further proposed initiating the necessary legislative processes to confer legal standing and regular funding to such a multi-stakeholder national coordinating body on gender-based violence. The Commission for Gender Equality, as a critical stakeholder, should engage with the Ministry of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities and other relevant entities regarding planning processes and timeframes for establishing the National Multi-Stakeholder Coordination Body of Gender-Based Violence. The CGE should further also... Thank you, Honorable Chair. In conclusion, the ANC supports this report as a step closer to making South Africa a safer country for women. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We shall now, having completed that debate,
We are muted, Chair. We can't hear you. Chairperson, we can't hear you.
Chairperson, I'm muted, Chairperson.
was invited to the podium.
Chair, you were talking alone.
You're talking alone.
Yeah.
Don't hear you.
Yeah, we didn't hear you. Nevertheless, the chair is ready.
We now proceed to the last order. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
We now proceed to the last order of the day, which is the consideration of report of Standing Committee on the Auditor-General on Oversight visit to Auditor-General of South Africa in Pretoria. We invite the Honorable S. Somio to come forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, the members in the House. Good morning. On the 21st of September 2022, the committee embarked on a visit on oversight of the Office of the Auditor-General of South Africa. This was driven by the fact that the country would have experienced overwhelming acceptance or on the appreciation of the work of the AG in ensuring that all those who perform administrative functions remain accountable at all times. That was so visible at a risky and very tough period when the country was befallen by the audit at the time of the COVID-19 in terms of their own experience. It is great indeed to ensure that that office remains independent and remains in its own work to ensure without fear that all those who receive funding through fiscus would diligently deal with its own administration, its own expenditure, in ensuring that people would rely on them for service delivery. The Office of the Auditor-General is central in deepening democracy and accountability. We are so happy and thrilled that they have observed at all times high performance standards in the value systems which are acceptable to ensure that the constitution of the country is followed at all times when they perform their own duty. What we went through at the time was a story which relates to ensuring the depth of automation in terms of performing their own work, the story of ensuring proper financing for them to succeed, to get into each and every level of administration for their own audits. The story which relates to deep performance, as it is the measure which everyone in the populace, in terms of taste and sight, to ensure that the state delivers and the value of money is somewhat experienced. This report will be taken as read by members and therefore we table for consideration by the House. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Somia. The Honorable C. Phillips.
Thank you, Chair. Please allow me to start by relating the story of an imaginary airplane filled with 257 passengers, piloted by an inexperienced pilot. While attempting to take off, the pilot crashes the airplane. The 38 passengers who were wearing their seatbelts and generally obeying the rules were unharmed. The rest of the passengers suffered catastrophic injuries. Miraculously, the pilot was unharmed. The passengers were taken to a hospital with the best possible facilities, and after being x-rayed and scanned by world-class machines and operators, recommendations were made for the medical treatment to save the lives of the passengers. The pilot was, however, the person who decided what actions would be taken, and because he was worried about his piloting skills being found wanting, he chose not to implement the recommendations of the radiologists. Imagine if instead of getting the correct treatment for the passengers, he chose just to tell people what he will do to save their lives and end their suffering, while in fact, he does nothing. And one by one, the passengers succumb to their injuries and die. To make matters worse, not only does he choose not to implement the recommendations to save lives, he also chooses not to settle the radiology department's bill. If this was a real-life scenario, we would all be saying, this is absolute madness. We would be outraged. The suffering and dying would be horrendous. In addition to the suffering and dying, the radiology department would not be able to remain a world-class facility if up to 61% of its patients chose not to pay. There would be no money for capital or operating expenditure, and the facility would find it difficult to remain in a state-of-the-art facility. Unfortunately, this is, in fact, an analogy of a real-life South African scenario that plays itself out in our country every single year. Our municipalities and SOEs are audited by the Auditor-General, and recommendations are made on what needs to be done to keep our municipalities viable and healthy. Unfortunately, much like the decision by the pilot, many municipalities and SOEs pay lip service to what they are going to do to address the recommendations of the Auditor-General. But in reality, the people served by municipalities and SOEs suffer, while the services slowly die. Where is the outrage? Is there none? Because the pilots of our country would rather protect their reputations and that of fellow deployees than save our municipalities and SOEs. Chair, we have an excellent Chapter 9 institution in the Auditor-General's office, and we need to ensure that more than lip service is paid to carrying out the recommendations in the audit reports. The Public Audit Act of number 25 of 2004 that came into effect in 2019 must be used to ensure that individuals who are responsible for fruitless and wasteful expenditure are held responsible for that money. Material irregularities of 11.9 billion rand due to the lack of basic disciplines and processes mentioned in the report is totally unacceptable, and action must be taken to address this. The real-time auditing announced by the President to keep track of the spending of funds made available during COVID gave many South Africans hope. Unfortunately, it was false hope. as most of the information only reached the Auditor-General's office after the money had been spent. In many cases, it was the press and not the AG's office who uncovered much of the fraud, theft, and wasteful and fruitless expenditure. Implementation of real-time audits must be refined and officials instructed to provide accurate information to the AG's office within a workable time frame to ensure that fruitless and wasteful expenditure and material irregularities can be prevented. We need to close the door on these practices before they can take place. The debt of municipalities and SOEs to the AG offices of almost R1 billion will ultimately affect the ability of the office to carry out its duties. This would definitely be to the detriment of our people, and it must be addressed urgently. It is also worrying to note that in addition to the municipalities being able to build close relationships with staff in the AG's office because the staff are not rotated regularly, there are some SOEs who are not audited by the AG and who simply keep changing audit firms until they find the one that is easily influenced and pliable and the outcomes suit them. The committee recommendations to address these issues must be implemented without delay. The Democratic Alliance supports this report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Phillips. A member from the EFF. The Honorable Singh from the IFP.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Please allow me to keep my camera off. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Honorable Chairperson and colleagues, this debate today, or this discussion, is not merely about a report of a visit to the Office of the Auditor-General, but it speaks to us as members of Parliament appreciating and understanding the environment under which all our public servants, in this case, Chapter 9 institution public servants, have to operate. And I think it'll be a very, very useful exercise if all of our portfolio committees take the time to visit departmental offices and Chapter 9 institution offices to check the kind of environment they operate in. Because the kind of environment they operate in is a clear indication of the output that they produce for South Africans. So in this regard, I must say, as a member of this committee, I was extremely impressed, together with my colleagues, on the way the current Auditor General and a team operate. There was collegiality, cordiality, and I think this reflects, it's a manifestation of the kind of work that they produce. Having said that, I think we should all be proud, not only as Parliament, but as South Africans, of the exceptional work that different auditors general have been doing for us as a country. And I must say it's improving year by year, where we noted recently that under the current Auditor General, there were special audits that were conducted during the floods and during COVID. We need this to happen more often. We need honorable members of Parliament to ensure that Treasury allocates more funds to the Office of the Auditor General to employ more staff and carry out these special functions. As the honorable members have said before me, many municipalities are not paying their dues to the Office of the Auditor General, and the amounts that they owe run into billions. Now, this definitely impacts on the work that the Office of the Auditor General has to produce. So in saying that, I want to, on behalf of the IFP, congratulate the Office of the Auditor General for the excellent work that they are doing for South Africa in terms of ensuring that Directors General and others hold themselves accountable in terms of the Public Finance Management Act. Lastly, I think consequence management is something that we must look at very seriously, because we have seen very few people in orange overalls who should be there because they've been found guilty of contravening sections of the Public Finance Management Act. We will support this report. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Singh. A member from the ACDP. A member from the UDM. Honourable member from the ATM. Honourable member from Good. COPE, PAC. I now invite the Honorable Z.A. Kotampeko from the ANC to conclude and complete the debate.
House Chairperson, honorable members, the ANC and the committee support the adoption of the report on the oversight visit to the Auditor-General, South Africa in Pretoria. The ANC is of the view that supporting this report contributes to the principles of good governance. The report shows sound financial practices, adherence to budgetary constraints, and effective management of public resources. We hope this will further promote public trust in government institutions. The report indicates various observations and recommendations. Auditor-General gave the committee delegation a briefing on 3 legal challenges the institution sought to resolve through the courts and other channels before the visit. Specifically, the Western Cape Department of Agriculture versus AXA and the Road Accident Fund versus AXA. We welcome and note that the AXA has requested for assistance in a number of areas and will develop a program to investigate the options as part of its own strategic planning. These include involving appropriate parties to prioritize the outstanding debts owed by local government and state-owned enterprises. In order to establish a short-term and a long-term solutions, the committee will continue the discussions on the funding model of Auditor-General as part of its own oversight duties. This includes speaking with sister committees at the National Assembly and National Treasury. Auditor-General assesses the efficiency and effectiveness of government programs and services through various audits, including performance audits. This evaluation has led to recommendations for improvements. We hope that the recommendations are all met, as these are important goals that should be achieved, which can help build and maintain public confidence in government's ability to manage public funds in their interests. When citizens have confidence in the capability of government to effectively manage public funds, they are more likely to support government initiatives and pay their taxes. Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable members, that concludes the debate and the business of this virtual mini-plenary session. The mini-plenary will now rise.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Asibonge.
Siyabulela tata. Thank you very much.
Enkosi, Chairperson, enkosi. Thank you.